My father awakened an S-Rank Haoshan Warhammer. My mother even awakened an SSS-Rank 7-kill true sword. And under their influence, I had always maintained the top rank in the entire school, but I never expected that. At today's awakening ceremony, I would actually awaken an E-rank support type talent, strength amplification. The school beauty Liu Ruyan, who had fawned over me for 3 years, told me on the spot to stay away from her. Instantly, the crowd erupted in thunderous mockery. But soon, a line of hidden attributes appeared in my mind. Strength increases by 1 pound per minute with no upper limit. Strength growth rate also increases with level advancement. After reading it, I breathed a sigh of relief. I thought to myself, if I could max out this talent, wouldn't I be able to punch through the earth in one blow? After a while, my good brother came over and asked if I was okay, and comforted me, saying not to be discouraged. Support type isn't bad either. Strength amplification can boost others' strength, and we can go into dungeons together in the future. I smiled and replied that I was fine, and said that I genuinely liked this talent. Seeing me so optimistic, my good brother became even more worried, afraid that I was just putting on a brave face. After all, falling from the top is not an easy feeling. At that moment, I was already overjoyed inside, because in just the past 3 minutes, my strength had increased by 3 pounds. At this rate, I would gain 60 pounds per hour, 1,440 pounds per day, and up to 42,000 pounds per month. You should know that in the Su Chen novels, Liu Ruyan, who single-handedly defeated 2.3 million troops with his strength, only had about 50,000 pounds of force, and I could reach that level in just 1 month. With such a talent, even if it's only E-rank, who wouldn't love it? Not far away, Liu Ruyan and her best friend also noticed us. Her best friend asked in confusion why she hadn't left yet. Liu Ruyan replied that she was watching Liu Ji. He is one of the few A-rank talent holders in our school, and this time he also awakened the physical type berserker power. Her best friend naturally knew him. He was in the same class as me, and had always wanted to be Liu Ruyan's guardian knight. But Liu Ruyan had been close to me, so he never got a chance. That was why Liu Ji had always held a grudge against me. Using his family's influence, he had caused me no small amount of trouble. But with the school protecting me, Liu Ji could only grind his teeth and endure. Now that I had fallen from grace, and Liu Ji, that underachiever, had unexpectedly awakened an A-rank talent, the scales had tipped. Liu Ruyan thought to herself that the college entrance exam required dungeon runs, with students forming teams freely. The dungeon results would be the exam scores, determining which university they could enter in the future. This Liu Ji could be useful, so she made up her mind to take the initiative to add Liu Ji's contact information. Her goal was Kenglong Academy, one of the 4 major martial arts academies in the country. At that moment, Liu Ji brought his people over and couldn't help but clap. Isn't this the school's top student? How come you got an E-rank talent? In the past, because I had a halo around me, I was the center of attention wherever I went. Now that Liu Ji had awakened an A-rank talent, everyone was eager to befriend him. My good brother Yasuo stepped forward and said, Liu Ji, what are you trying to do? Don't think that just because you awakened an A-rank talent, you're something special. Liu Ji smiled and said, Su Chen, with your garbage talent, you probably can only get into a vocational school. You and the school beauty are so close. Didn't she invite you to do dungeons together? I just wanted to tell you that the school beauty just invited me to do dungeons together. Only I'm qualified to be her guardian knight. I calmly replied that I could handle dungeons on my own. If you want to team up, go ahead. Generally speaking, going into a dungeon alone is very dangerous. But with strength amplification, I can just punch through the dungeon. Teammates would only hold me back. As for Liu Ruyan, I had just transmigrated here, and hadn't merged with the original body's emotional tendencies, so I didn't care about her at all. Seeing that I didn't show the disappointment he expected, Liu Ji was gnashing his teeth in frustration. He had thought I would be devastated by his humiliation, but that wasn't the case at all. Finally, he said viciously, Su Chen, don't let me run into you in the dungeon hunting, or you'll regret it. If it weren't for being at school and just having awakened his talent, he would have already lost his temper and taught me a lesson. Over the past 3 years, whenever I talked and laughed intimately with Liu Ruyan, he would be so furious he could grind his teeth to dust. It wasn't until evening that I returned home. After awakening my talent, there was basically no need to go to school anymore. The next task was to improve my strength and prepare for the college entrance exam's practical dungeon run. 6 hours had passed since the awakening, and my strength had increased by 7,360 pounds. However, I was still completely in the dark about how to upgrade my talent. My experience points hadn't increased at all. While opening the fridge to look for food, I found a bottle labeled Advanced Body Strengthening Potion. It also had my name on it. This should have been left for me by Li Qingqing. Sister Qingqing is 2 years older than me, my foster sister from my father's friend's family. She's also a total doting brother fanatic, and is currently studying at one of the 4 top institutions, Kenglong Martial Arts Academy. I poured some into a cup and took a few sips, feeling instantly refreshed. At the same time, the talent information in my mind changed. Originally, leveling up required 10,000 experience points. After drinking it, I gained 1,200 points, so I still needed 8,800. I was overjoyed. Just drinking a potion gave me experience. That's way too simple and crude. But then came the problem. Potions are usually expensive. Although my foster parents are good to me, they're just a working class family. And although my sister Li Qingqing got into Kenglong Academy, that was also thanks to her lucky talent awakening. She couldn't easily get her hands on this kind of advanced potion. She must have put a lot of effort into getting this bottle. I didn't want to burden her any further. The next morning, I went straight to the potion market. The potions sold here are specially made for martial artists, with jaw-dropping prices. I didn't find the same advanced body-strengthening potion that Ching Ching had given me, but I saw the regular version priced at a staggering 800,000. Truly, poverty limits one's martial path. The barrier is too high. I couldn't help but sigh. I only had the 200,000 inheritance from my parents, plus some spare change for living expenses. That was all my savings. At that moment, the shop owner came over and said, "Little brother, you're still a student, right? Just awakened your talent? Let me tell you, drink my body-strengthening potion, and I guarantee you'll advance to level 3 within 3 days. Since you're a student and money's tight, I'll give you a discount 79,000 and it's yours." Although talent and class choice are crucial in martial cultivation, levels are equally important. Basic classes go from level 1 to 100. After taking the advanced body-strengthening potion last night, I had already broken through to level 3. The effects were still ongoing. However, given my ridiculously overpowered strength amplification talent, with strength continuously skyrocketing, levels seemed less important. But to raise my talent level, potions were indispensable. The boss noticed my empty pockets and asked which class I was. I told him I was a physical type focused on strength. I initially wanted to say support type, but strength amplification wasn't very useful in a support role, so I just said I was physical type. Even if I faced the Heavenly King himself, I'd still be a physical type. Then the boss told me that various guilds were recently recruiting new members. If I joined, I'd get $1 million in startup funds. Why not try the Tianquan Guild? It was the first time I'd heard of such a good deal, so I decided to head over to the Tianquan Guild and give it a shot. It was already 10 AM. 19 hours had passed since awakening my talent. My strength had increased by over 11,400 pounds. I believed passing the Tianquan Guild's test shouldn't be a problem. Soon I arrived at the Tianquan Guild. A surprised voice came from beside a red sports car. Was that Su Chen who just turned the corner? Liu Ruyan replied, "You must have seen wrong. That's the road to the Tianquan Guild." Su Chen couldn't possibly join a guild. Her best friend Chen Ling shook her head and said, "Maybe I was mistaken. Didn't Liu Ji say he was going to the Tianquan Guild for training? His berserker power talent is perfect for that place." Liu Ruyan nodded and said, "I know. I'm keeping an eye on him." Liu Ruyan is a fifth type mage. Chen Ling is a B-rank support. The other two friends are an A-rank tank and an A-rank marksman. The team composition is quite solid. As a physical warrior, Liu Ji is responsible for the main attack. He has to be reliable enough, which is why Liu Ruyan decided to observe him secretly. Otherwise, she wouldn't have given him a second glance. Every year after talent awakening, major guilds hold recruitment drives. Successful recruits not only get $1 million in prize money, but also generous monthly subsidies afterwards. However, guilds aren't charities. The assessment standards are extremely high. Usually, only A-rank talent holders can pass. Occasionally, an exceptionally outstanding B-rank talent will stand out. At this moment, after entering the guild, I went straight to the counter and stated outright that I wanted to join the Tianquan Guild. The counter clerk handed me a form to fill out. As one of the 3 major guilds in Rongchuan, the Tianquan Guild had seen an endless stream of applicants during this period. The clerk was used to it and didn't bother asking questions. However, when I finished filling it out and handed it back, he was still stunned. An E-rank support type talent was participating in a strength challenge? The clerk widened his eyes in disbelief as he looked me over. I calmly replied that the rules didn't say I couldn't challenge it. Indeed, I had checked the challenge rules before honestly filling out the information. The clerk kindly suggested, "What I mean is, as a support type, maybe you should choose a different challenge. Is your talent healing, attribute buffs, debuffs, or crowd control? As a support, there's really no need to compete with warriors for their role." Without a second thought, I firmly told him I was going for strength. The clerk handed me a liability waiver and said, "Then sign this waiver too. Although the puppets are embedded with spirit stones, they're still A-rank. If you get hurt, the guild is not responsible." After signing, the clerk led me to the challenge room. Inside were 3 puppets, a white-marked beginner, a blue-marked intermediate, and a red-marked advanced. The clerk explained them in detail. The beginner challenge rewards 1 million and membership as a regular guild member. Monthly salary of 20,000. The intermediate challenge rewards 3 million and membership as a senior guild member. Monthly salary of 50,000. The advanced challenge rewards 8 million and membership as a guild steward. Salary ranges from 100,000 to several hundred thousand depending on work duties. I thought with my current strength, I should be able to handle it. If not, I could come back tomorrow. So I told the clerk that I wanted to try the advanced challenge. The clerk tried to dissuade me, saying, "You can't just pick randomly. Do you know what the advanced challenge means? You're a student who just awakened your talent, and a support type at that. The advanced puppet punches with 800 pounds of force. It can easily kill an ox." When I heard it was only 800 pounds, I thought this was a sure win. So I confidently told the clerk to go with the advanced challenge. "Alright, you're stubborn. Anyway, you signed the waiver yourself. You're the one turning this into a life or death contract." The clerk reluctantly activated the advanced puppet, then left the room. After he left, the puppet started walking toward me. The strength test was simple. Both sides exchanged punches, along with some basic martial arts sparring. Boxing is a required course at the Martial Arts Academy, and I had always scored near perfect. Just then, a ponytailed, spirited girl walked in, drawn by the noise from the training room. She asked what all the commotion was about. The clerk reported to her with a wry smile. "Miss, there's a stubborn student challenging the advanced puppet." The girl was surprised to hear it was a student, and confirmed with the clerk again. The clerk answered her, "Yes, a student." "Then be careful, don't let anyone die. Young people are full of youthful vigor. Consider it a life lesson for them." After saying that, the girl headed straight to the second floor. Today she had an appointment with Liu Ruyan to help train someone. Another loud crash, and the noise from the training room suddenly stopped. This kid couldn't have been beaten to death by the puppet, could he? The clerk rushed into the room in a panic. At that moment, I was standing in the center of the room. The red puppet in front of me had been reduced to a pile of rubble. The spirit stone embedded in it had been shattered by my 3 punches. I couldn't help but think, this puppet is way too fragile. The clerk had been boasting about it just a moment ago. The door suddenly opened, and the clerk's voice came through. "I told you, you're a support type. Why insist on being a physical warrior? Now you know the consequences, don't you? I warned you earlier, our guild doesn't cover damages." However, when the clerk saw the scene inside, his remaining words got stuck in his throat. His eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Then the clerk jumped up, clutching his head in shock, and exclaimed, "You actually broke the advanced puppet. This was specially purchased by the guild leader from the capital, costing over 8 million. I nervously asked if I had to pay for it myself. After all, I only had about 100,000 yuan to my name. I couldn't afford it." After recovering from his shock, the clerk quickly waved his hand and said, No need. "Kid, you're really a monster with all the talents in number 1 high school. They just had an S-rank fire mage. And now there's you, a support-type strength monster. Alright, congratulations. From now on, you're a junior steward of our Tianquan guild. Aside from the one-time bonus of 5 million. If you don't take on specific duties, you'll get a monthly salary of 100,000. Not long after, 5 million yuan was deposited into my bank account. The sudden wealth left me a bit dazed. In my previous life, I'd never seen this much money. But I also knew that in this era of spirit recovery and universal awakening, this amount wasn't really that much. It would all be spent on potions. Since I already had the bonus, why did I have to join the Tianquan guild? Besides, the monthly salary of 100,000 didn't really appeal to me. So before leaving, I quietly took away the form I had filled out. The clerk watched my departing back, pondering to himself, "This kid is way too monstrous. I have to report this to the young lady. A talent like this can't just be a part-time steward in our guild. A support-type strength warrior who can smash an advanced puppet like that, such a person, let alone in Luoshuan City, is rare even in the entire Sidu province. Where's the clerk? I'm here for the challenge. Let me start with a beginner puppet to warm up Miss Su's orders." A few minutes later, just as the clerk was still reeling from the shock, a man named Liu Ji walked into the strength training room, stunning him once again. Physical warrior, A-rank talent with berserker power. This Liu Ji sure got lucky. Originally just an overlooked wastrel second generation in the Liu family, now he's turned his life around. Berserker power is a king among strength-type talents. With proper training, before the college entrance exam, he might even be able to challenge the intermediate puppet. Over at the second floor of the Tianquan Guild, Miss Su Xueyang was reviewing Liu Ji's report, nodding in approval. She glanced at the icy beauty beside her and said, "No wonder Ranran has a different opinion of this former simp. He's definitely a talent worth cultivating." Liu Ruyan said indifferently, "My goal is to take first place in the college entrance exam dungeon and successfully enter Kanglong Academy." She had no interest in Liu Ji whatsoever. No matter how talented he was, in Liu Ruyan's eyes, he couldn't compare to the fallen me. Su Xueyang suddenly noticed a message on her phone and said in surprise, "The clerk just messaged me, saying the advanced puppet in the strength training room has been destroyed. I need to go down and take a look." Liu Ruyan found it hard to believe even a level 10 warrior might not have that kind of power. And the one in the strength training room just now was Liu Ji. A rare smile curled at the corner of Liu Ruyan's lips. It seemed she had indeed underestimated Liu Ji's berserker power. The two of them then went down to the strength training room together. Inside, the red advanced puppet lay scattered like trash. Liu Ji stood in front of the wreckage. Liu Ruyan couldn't help but praise him. "Liu Ji, I didn't expect you to be this impressive. I've underestimated you in the past, I apologize." Liu Ruyan elevated Liu Ji's status in her mind by several levels. His performance was indeed worthy of her lowering her stance a little. Liu Ji was delighted inside. The always proud Liu Ruyan was actually being so nice to him. It felt like a spring breeze on his face. But the clerk interrupted him. "It wasn't Liu Ji. Our Tianquan Guild's advanced puppet isn't just for show. Liu Ji's berserker power is strong, but right now he might not even be able to beat the beginner puppet." All of this was done by a student from number 1 high school. Both Liu Ruyan and Su Xueyang were shocked. Liu Ji was filled with embarrassment and shame. At this moment, the biggest news in number 1 high school was undoubtedly Liu Ruyan's S-Rank talent and Su Chen's fall. Everything else seemed unremarkable. Now there was actually such a monstrous student hidden in number 1 high school. Liu Ji felt utterly humiliated. He had just awakened an A-rank talent and had an advantage in strength, even catching the school beauty's attention. But now he was completely overshadowed. He noticed Liu Ruyan's gaze had already shifted away from him. "I want his contact information right now," Liu Ruyan and Su Xueyang said in unison. Su Xueyang wanted to firmly bind this person to the Tianquan Guild and absolutely couldn't let him quit. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan was motivated by a desire to network. She hoped this person could replace Liu Ji and do dungeons with her. If necessary, she was even willing to treat him the same way she treated Su Chen. The clerk looked around in confusion, muttering, "This doesn't make sense. I remember clearly. I put that kid's information and filled out report in the drawer. How did it disappear?" Su Xueyang waved her hand, signaling the clerk to stop searching. "Don't bother, he probably took it when you weren't paying attention. This kind of thing isn't uncommon. Many potential talents participate in challenges, just for the generous prize money. Once you join a guild, you miss out on bonuses from other guilds. Usually, guilds won't make a fuss over such a small matter with future pillars of the country. After all, it's not worth offending someone who could become a national backbone for the sake of a little money." Su Xueyang asked the clerk persistently, "Can you remember any basic information about that person?" Although she was proud and aloof, as one of the top 3 guilds in Linchuan City, the Tianquan Guild usually didn't bother with such matters. But that person's performance was just too astonishing. He had actually smashed an advanced puppet to pieces. Just how terrifying must his strength attribute be? Su Xueyang was determined, no matter the cost, to bind him to the Tianquan Guild. The clerk thought for a moment and said, "I remember his surname seemed to be Chen, and he was a support type. He said his talent was C rank, but now I don't believe that at all." Not only did the clerk not believe it was C rank, even Liu Ji didn't believe it. If it wasn't S rank, it was at least A+ rank. The official talent grading only classifies by level, but among the public, people further distinguish between A+ and A-. Support types are often underestimated, but a good talent, even if low-ranked, can unleash king-level power. And the buffs a support type provides to other classes often have a synergy effect greater than 2 or even 3. Liu Ruyan was also intrigued after hearing this. She immediately mobilized her connections to find that person's information. As long as she confirmed he was a student of Luoshuan No. 1 High School, everything would be easy. Su Xueyang reminded Liu Ruyan, "That person probably took the bonus to buy potions at the potion market. Your Liu family is a leading enterprise in the potion market. You could also start from that angle." Liu Ruyan had the same plan. She prepared to stake out the potion market first, while also passing the message to the Liu family's pharmaceutical company. Liu Ji wanted to gain some presence, so he suggested going with Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan tactfully told him to stay and train here, because if she really ran into that monstrous student, Liu Ji would only be a burden and might even provoke the other party. Liu Ruyan's opinion of Liu Ji dropped a few more notches. I walked into the potion market and swiped my card stylishly for 790,000. The purchase went smoothly, natural, and cool. The potion shop owner stared at me wide-eyed in disbelief and asked if I'd really succeeded in the challenge. Then he gave me a free bottle of potion as a gift. His attitude had clearly changed. Potential stocks like me would be closely watched by all major forces, eager to recruit me. I politely thanked him, feeling the special treatment given to the strong. Holding a few bottles of regular body-strengthening potions in my hand, I didn't consume them immediately. Instead, I first checked the ingredient list. After reading the ingredients, I fell into thought. The components of these medicinal herbs were too ordinary and common. At school, we had learned basic alchemy skills. I had always scored full marks, and now I could put them to good use. I tentatively asked the boss if I could borrow the alchemy furnace. The regular body-strengthening potion sold on the market was specially developed by the Lin family pharmaceutical company. Other pharmaceutical companies had similar products, but the formulas differed. I wanted to see if I could improve these regular body-strengthening potions. The reason I had such courage was because my sister Li Qingqing was a support-type pharmacist. Her awakened talent was universal analysis. Although she couldn't yet refine advanced body-strengthening potions, relying on her S-rank universal analysis talent, she might be able to improve the regular body-strengthening potion. The potion shop owner hesitated. The alchemy furnace was an important piece of equipment for pharmaceutical companies, and was usually off-limits to outsiders, let alone a stranger like me. But on second thought, I was a potential stock, and a target worth winning over, so he agreed to give me an hour. After arriving at the alchemy room, I called my sister Li Qingqing. After confirming she was available, I sent her the ingredient list. Half an hour later, Li Qingqing identified these ingredients, and used her universal analysis talent to analyze them. Then she provided me with 3 suggested refining formulas, all of which could improve the regular body-strengthening potion. I started operating according to the suggestions. There were many herbs in the alchemy furnace available for me to use for free. I increasingly felt the special treatment that came with being a potential stock. As if I were in a privileged class, the future was full of infinite possibilities. After another half hour, following one failed attempt, I successfully refined an improved version of the regular body-strengthening potion. This level of alchemy skill absolutely reached S-rank. This was mainly due to my solid academic performance, and the fact that this potion wasn't particularly difficult to refine. First, let's test the difference between the 2 potions. With that thought, I first drank a bottle of regular body-strengthening potion. Previously, when I drank the advanced body-strengthening potion, my experience points increased by 1,200 points. This time, only 200 points were added. The regular potion's effect was indeed limited. Then I tried the improved version I had just refined. It actually increased by 500 points directly. I was overjoyed. The improved effect was actually 2.5 times the original. This was definitely a hidden treasure. I thanked Li Qingqing again, and at the same time, deeply felt the terror of an S-rank talent. No wonder she could become a student at Kanglong Academy. As one of the 4 top institutions in Dragon Country, Kanglong Academy had now also become my goal. Because with Li Qingqing, a support-type pharmacist, I could find many shortcuts in this world. After the 1 hour the potion shop owner had set past, I left the pharmacy. Not long after I left, Liu Ruyan and her best friend also arrived at the pharmacy by car. This pharmacy was also a Liu family enterprise. After hearing about the potential stock from No. 1 High School, her best friend excitedly followed Liu Ruyan to the potion market. Upon entering, her best friend couldn't wait to ask, "Did a support-type student surnamed Chen come to buy medicine?" The owner shook his head and said no. He had asked my name and knew I was surnamed Su. Then he looked at Liu Ruyan and said, "Miss, I just reported to headquarters that a student from No. 1 High School is a potential stock." After completing a guild challenge and receiving the prize money, he bought medicine here. When Liu Ruyan heard No. 1 High School and guild challenge, she was already certain it was the person who had destroyed the advanced puppet at the guild. Her best friend quickly asked where that person had gone. The owner told them he had already left. Liu Ruyan and her best friend were a bit disappointed. Then the owner added, "But he had borrowed our alchemy furnace for an hour earlier. I suspect he's not a strength type, but a support type possibly related to alchemy." The owner's words reinvigorated Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan urged him to take them to see the alchemy furnace. The word support stirred her heart. Regardless of whether he was support type, the key point was that he had completed a guild challenge. After verifying the records, the owner led the two into the alchemy room. Manager Wu pointed to the alchemy furnace, and seeing Liu Ruyan nod, he quietly left. "Ruyan, are you sure they're the same person? You're too impatient with your talent. Getting into Kanglong Academy is no problem." Her best friend couldn't help asking. Liu Ruyan shook her head and walked straight to the alchemy furnace. Her long, fair fingers gently brushed across the furnace wall, and sticky liquid clung to her fingertips. She brought the azure liquid close to her nose. A fresh, vibrant fragrance instantly filled her whole body, as if every cell was joyfully welcoming the impending transformation. Under her best friend's stunned gaze, Liu Ruyan decisively poured the remaining potion into her mouth. The liquid burst on her rosy tongue. A surge of unknown power flooded her body. She could clearly feel herself being strengthened. According to the owner, the young man surnamed Su had only bought regular body-strengthening potions. But Liu Ruyan had grown up in luxury, and after awakening her talent, she had never lacked various rare potions. She had developed a high tolerance for regular potions. This regular body-strengthening potion had almost no effect on her. Yet at this moment, she sensed a subtle improvement in her strength. Though minuscule, it was enough to shock her. Liu Ruyan's beautiful eyes widened. She immediately rushed out to find the owner. Her best friend stared at her blankly. Her usual calm and composed cool temperament had completely vanished. Clearly, she had encountered something unimaginable. After coming out, Liu Ruyan asked the owner, "Did you say the young man's surname is Su?" "That's right. He claimed his surname was Su, a physical type, and bought medicine before borrowing the alchemy furnace. I figured that since he could complete a guild challenge, he must be a promising talent, so I wanted to take this opportunity to build a connection." "Good. The next time he comes, make sure to keep him here and wait for me." Liu Ruyan looked serious, as if this matter was even more important than the upcoming college entrance exam. "Ruyan, what exactly happened?" Her best friend finally couldn't hold back her curiosity. She had never seen Lin Shoran so flustered. Liu Ruyan sighed softly, a mix of regret and disappointment in her heart. The young man surnamed Su probably isn't the same person as the young man surnamed Chen mentioned by the Tianquan Guild. Then Liu Ruyan's eyes brightened, and she said, "Because the body-strengthening potion in that alchemy furnace is definitely not the ordinary kind sold by our Lin family. Its potency is at least twice that of the regular body-strengthening potion, and I can tell that the ingredients haven't changed. Do you know what that means? It means that as long as we get this as long as we get this person, my Liu family will no longer be limited to Sidu province. We could completely rise to become a major family across Dragon Country." A blazing light shone in Liu Ruyan's eyes. Her best friend gasped, her eyes filled with shock. She understood that a formula that could produce a potion with more than double the potency, using the same ingredients, was almost unimaginably difficult. And the formula wasn't even the most surprising part. What was truly astonishing was that a high school student who had just finished his 3rd year and was about to take the college entrance exam dungeon could casually improve such a powerful formula. The potential behind this was beyond imagination. As long as we can get him, not only will we win the college entrance exam, but even in Kanglong Academy, he could become one of the top prodigies. Liu Ruyan nodded in agreement. Right now, it doesn't matter whether the student surnamed Chen and the student surnamed Su are the same person. No matter who he is, we must find him. Night fell, and the city lights came on. I ended my day outside and stepped into the familiar doorway of my home. I went straight back to my room, took out the last bottle of regular body-strengthening potion, and swallowed it without hesitation. As expected, it only increased by 200 points. Recalling the improved version I had tried earlier, the regular version in my hand now seemed quite lackluster in comparison. Not only was it overpriced, its actual effect was far inferior. At this moment, I began to consider, instead of continuing to rely on these low-value commercial products, why not go to the herbal market myself to select raw ingredients, find a professional alchemy workshop to collaborate with, and personally develop a more effective, improved body-strengthening potion. This would not only significantly reduce costs, but might even allow me to earn extra income by selling homemade potions. Especially during this critical period before the college entrance exam dungeon, this approach would undoubtedly provide me with an excellent opportunity. Not only could I achieve self-sufficiency, but I could also rapidly increase my talent experience points, fully preparing for future challenges. With this thought in mind, I decided to visit the nearby herbal market the next day to investigate. Just as I was about to turn on my computer to look up information, my phone suddenly buzzed with urgent vibrations. The screen flashed with notification sounds ding ding ding. Who could be messaging me at this hour? I was a bit curious. I quickly unlocked the phone and saw that in the class WeChat group, someone was talking about me. In the group, Liu said I wasn't worthy of attending the class reunion, and that he didn't welcome anyone below C rank, because he was sure he would get into Kanglong Academy, and then he would become a person from a different world from us. Liu's sarcastic remarks were like a fuse, instantly igniting anger in the class group. Classmates began to attack him verbally from all sides. However, facing the wave of accusations, Liu remained indifferent, as if all the attacks were nothing but clouds beneath his feet. His mindset at this moment had undergone a complete transformation. The once bottom-tier student, seen as a family burden and a class laughingstock, had now turned into the center of attention as an A-rank genius. This feeling of rising from the bottom to the top and being surrounded again left Liu intoxicated, floating in bliss. He thought to himself that these people were just jealous of his glorious turnaround, and envious of his current status. What made him even more proud was that although no one openly agreed with him, those classmates with C rank or above talents were privately expressing support and agreeing to attend the class reunion he organized. In his view, this precisely proved a truth. Although some words sounded harsh, they were a true reflection of a cruel reality. From now on, they and those classmates with talents below C rank are no longer in the same world. I looked at the scene on my phone and chuckled softly. Whenever anyone argued against him, he would mock that he was better than them. I just found this person named Liu very amusing. So I replied to him in the group, "You're right, in terms of looks alone, you're definitely uglier than us." Other classmates who had been mocked by Liu also joined in. The group was instantly flooded with a joyful atmosphere. But Liu was deeply stung by a certain remark and fell into silence for a while. When it came to looks, everyone could see clearly compared to me. Liu felt like a clown fading into obscurity. The homeroom teacher Ningning Shuang made the final call. "Everyone stop arguing. You're all classmates." "Liu, what nonsense are you talking about? This is a class gathering, not your personal show." She decisively arranged the gathering details and muted the group chat. The noisy atmosphere instantly calmed down. I also put away my phone and turned on the computer, focusing on comparing the prices of various herb markets. My phone was set to silent mode just as I was analyzing intently. An unexpected woman suddenly sent me a message. It was Liu Ruyan, picking up her phone and asking if I was there. Half an hour passed, and seeing that I hadn't replied, she then asked if I knew a certain physical type student surnamed Su in the school. At this moment, Liu Ruyan lay in bed, staring intently at the chat interface that showed no response. Her teeth lightly bit her lip. Her usually cool and composed face rarely showed a hint of frustration. She grabbed a plush toy beside her, as if treating it as me, hitting it while complaining. "You don't reply, you don't answer me. You won't even spare a glance at my messages. What could be so important that you're busy for an entire hour?" As the school beauty, top student, and an S-rank talent standout, she had never been treated with such coldness. After a few more minutes, I finally picked up my phone and replied to her. "Sorry, I was a bit busy earlier and didn't check my phone. I haven't heard of that physical type student surnamed Su either. Maybe you could ask someone else." Liu Ruyan gazed at the words on the screen with focused eyes. Then her slender fingers pressed the voice call button without hesitation. The call connected, and that familiar clear voice came through. I asked her what was up. She insisted, "I just want to confirm once more. Do you know a physical type student surnamed Su?" My answer was flat and firm. "No, never heard of him." When I heard silence on the other end, I was about to end the call, when Liu Ruyan suddenly spoke again. "Su Chen, what are your plans for the future?" I said calmly. "I'm going to take the college entrance exam dungeon, and my goal is to apply to Kanglong Academy, one of the 4 preparatory academies of the country." Liu Ruyan was stunned as if struck by lightning, a flicker of complex emotion passing through her beautiful eyes. Su Chen, an E-rank support-type talent holder, actually dares to challenge the perilous college entrance exam dungeon, and even aspires to enter Kanglong Academy, where top geniuses gather. This she could not understand. However, this also made her suspect whether I was that alchemy person. Liu Ruyan took a deep breath, her tone gentle yet determined, ready to test me. "Su Chen, I hope you can be rational about this." Before she could finish, I had already hung up and sent a message. "If you're still going to try to talk me out of it, then forget it, I've already decided." Liu Ruyan stared at the screen, her emotions in turmoil. She couldn't understand why I had suddenly made such a bold decision. Finally, she called her best friend Chen Ling. On the other end, after hearing Liu Ruyan's account, Chen Ling immediately gave her opinion. "I think Su Chen wants to get into Kanglong Academy, just to follow in your footsteps, and attend the same martial arts university as you. Who knew that underneath his aloof exterior, he's actually quite proactive in his actions?" Liu Ruyan interrupted Chen Ling's teasing. "Don't talk nonsense, he and I are done. Right now, the most important thing is to find that student surnamed Su. Whether he's the same person as the one surnamed Chen or not, as long as he's at number 1 high school, we need to find him as soon as possible, and not let anyone else beat us to it." Chen Ling agreed, saying she was already looking into it, and believed they would soon uncover the identity of this mysterious person. The next morning, I woke up and tried to get up, But unexpectedly, the bedboard collapsed under my slight press. The entire bed frame instantly gave way. I was surprised to find that overnight my strength had significantly increased again. I could clearly feel my power had grown considerably, at least an increase of 71,400 pounds. Adding to yesterday's gains, in less than 2 days, I had already grown by over 2,540 pounds of tremendous force. Presumably the legendary powers of ancient strongmen like Liu Ruyan, Lu Bu, and Shang Yu were no more than this. However, I didn't get lost in the swelling of power. Instead, I turned my thoughts to reality. So I went out and headed straight to the nearby herb market, planning to purchase various herbs needed to improve the body-strengthening potion, and at the same time, look for a place where I could rent an alchemy room. In this market, where genuine and fake goods are mixed together, buyers need sharp eyes to avoid buying ineffective or even harmful fakes like the so-called mighty god pills. Many students from poor families, eager to strengthen themselves before the college entrance exam dungeon, are willing to take risks searching for low-priced treasures at the stalls. I carefully compared the prices of the herbs needed for the body-strengthening potion. Compared to the market price of 800,000 for the regular version, these raw materials were indeed not too expensive. But considering the batch production I planned and possible losses from failed attempts, the overall cost was not negligible. After weighing my options, I decided to buy enough materials for 30 doses of the body-strengthening potion in one go, instantly spending all 5 million yuan of the bonus I had received yesterday. Seeing my generous spending, the merchant mistook me for a pharmacist from a large pharmaceutical company, and even gave me a few extra portions of herbs. Also reminding me that renting an alchemy furnace was expensive, often costing hundreds of thousands per hour, which made me inwardly gasp, realizing I still needed to keep getting more freebies. I was thinking that besides the Tianquan Guild I had already visited, there were still 2 other major guilds, Zhengwu Guild and Qinri Guild, that I hadn't approached yet. Just as I was about to find their locations, a familiar figure came into view. It was the reception clerk from the Tianquan Guild, who was now respectfully accompanying a distinguished young girl as they walked through the market. The girl wore luxurious clothes with dazzling jewelry, clearly a well-born heiress. An idea struck me, wondering if the guild had noticed that I hadn't left my contact information. They might be looking for me to refund the money or to forcibly recruit me. Knowing I still had plenty of fleece to harvest, I decided to hurry over to the Zhengwu Guild first and pocket their rewards before anything else. Meanwhile, that girl was Su Xueyang, the heiress of the Tianquan Guild, who had heard Liu Ruyan mention the alchemy market and had come here today to try her luck. Inside the Zhengwu Guild, I went straight to the point and told the receptionist I wanted to join the guild. The receptionist handed me an application form just like yesterday, going through the motions. When she saw that I had filled in E-rank support talent and had chosen the strength trial challenge, she was completely stunned, her face full of shock. The receptionist asked in disbelief, "E-rank support talent, are you sure you want to do the strength trial?" Not wanting to waste words, I signed the liability waiver directly and urged her, "Don't ask, I'm in a hurry. Just go with the strength trial." The receptionist stood frozen, her trembling finger pointing toward the challenge room. I pushed the door open and saw the white, blue, and red puppets inside, representing beginner, intermediate, and advanced difficulties respectively. I walked straight to the advanced puppet without hesitation and raised my fist to strike. At that moment, the receptionist happened to follow me in and witnessed this, screaming in terror, "Sir, don't be reckless. That advanced puppet can punch with 800 pounds of force. Even an S-rank physical type genius would need protective gear. If you attack it head on like that, it'll kill you with one punch." But the next second, the scene completely defied her expectations. My seemingly casual punch was overwhelmingly powerful, like a steamroller, instantly crushing the advanced puppet's fist. The receptionist's mind, which had just begun to recover from the puppet being destroyed, was once again overwhelmed with shock. Is this really a support type? This is clearly the destructive power of a physical type. Watching the advanced puppet shattered into pieces with a single punch, the receptionist thought to herself, if this person wanted, he could probably destroy it with just one finger. Still in shock, she hurriedly invited me to the finance office to claim my prize, and informed me that I had become a junior steward of the guild. I followed her to the finance office the moment the door opened. I was surprised to see a young girl sitting inside, who was none other than the one I had seen at the herb market earlier. When the girl saw me, her eyes sparkled, and a playful smile curled at the corner of her mouth. What a coincidence. "Su Chen, how was your morning? Why did you run off at the herb market earlier?" I was about to leave when I noticed the door had quietly closed behind me, leaving only me and the girl in the room. The girl spoke calmly. "Don't rush off, I'm not here to ask for money, nor will I waste your time. My name is Su Xueyang, the heiress of the Tianquan Guild. From our surnames, we could be considered of the same lineage." She extended her slender hand in a gesture of goodwill. After a moment's thought, I decided that since she said so, staying for a while wouldn't hurt. Let's see what she was after. I sat down on the chair opposite her and asked directly, "What do you want with me?" The girl quickly took out her phone and swiped her finger across the screen. Then my phone vibrated with a notification, showing a deposit of 5 million yuan to my bank account. She then explained, "Consider that 5 million as your visit to the Qinri Guild. Or you can think of it as a gift from me. A talent like yours deserves such treatment." I stared at the number on my phone screen, gaining a deeper appreciation of the value of my own talent. This world follows the law of the strong. Once you demonstrate extraordinary talent, you attract many allies and investors. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. Accepting such a generous offer meant I had to join the Tianquan Guild. Seeing me still hesitate, Su Xueyang steeled herself and dangled another carrot. I promise that from now on, all the cultivation resources you need, whether pills, herbs, or alchemy furnaces, the Tianquan Guild will provide in full, and I will also give you a private alchemy room for your permanent use. Faced with such generous terms, I finally wavered. I knew exactly what having my own private alchemy furnace would mean for me. Unable to hide my interest, I asked her, "Is that true?" Su Xueyang answered firmly, "Of course it's true." After hearing that, I stopped hesitating and decided to accept this sponsorship. Although deep down I didn't want to be beholden to anyone, faced with the allure of an alchemy furnace, I simply couldn't resist. The moment I signed the contract, Su Xueyang breathed a sigh of relief, the tension in her beautiful eyes instantly vanishing, replaced by a lazy triumph. She was secretly glad she had acted quickly to bring Su Chen under her wing, before Liu Ruyan could get to him. Just then, my phone received a notification. A level 1 wasteland dungeon had opened, located in the suburbs of Rongchuan City. Open for 48 hours, the entry requirement was a primary class level 5 or above, or support class level 10 or above, certified by major guilds. Thanks to my certification from the Tianquan Guild, I was now a mid-level steward, and had installed the Martial Arts Network app that could receive official dungeon information. I examined the entry requirements for the Wasteland Dungeon, feeling dissatisfied with the harsh standards for support-type classes. But I was grateful for the guild's support. Otherwise, many dungeons would be closed to me. I decided to use this opportunity to enter the Wasteland Dungeon and get familiar with the environment early, in preparation for the upcoming college entrance exam dungeon. Soon, I took a ride-hailing car to the suburbs. There, I saw military vehicles lined up and heavily armed soldiers guarding the entrance. A long queue was being checked orderly by the staff. When it was my turn, the staff member expressed doubt about my support-type class level, believing that I, having not yet taken the college entrance exam dungeon, shouldn't venture into such a dangerous place. Then I showed my identity certificate as a mid-level steward of the Tianquan Guild. The staff member was first stunned, then quickly verified it and changed his attitude, respectfully letting me through. I smoothly entered the Wasteland Dungeon and began my first dungeon exploration journey. After entering the teleportation gate, I woke up leisurely from a daze. The moment I opened my eyes, the world before me seemed to have undergone a drastic transformation. Endless yellow sand stretched across the sky, blotting out the sun. Although the sunlight was obscured by dark clouds, it still radiated intense heat that stung my eyes. I remembered the staff's warning that this level 1 Wasteland Dungeon had already been cleared to a safe level, and I could leave simply by crushing the boundary-breaking stone I carried and waiting a few minutes. At this moment, I found myself in some unknown corner of this vast desert. Despite the harsh environment, I felt this was a great place to show off my skills. I tried stomping hard on the ground. The sand particles shot up like a fountain, then exploded, scattering dust everywhere. Then I took out the advanced body-strengthening potion Su Xueyang had given me and uncorked it. A rich medicinal fragrance instantly filled the air. Just as I was about to drink it, a disturbance caught my attention. It felt like something was moving through the sand. I shouted sharply, "Who's there?" Suddenly, a grenade was thrown at me. I dodged instinctively, but the grenade was too fast, and I couldn't avoid it in time. It exploded instantly. Sand and stones flew everywhere, shockwaves surged like tides, and smoke billowed, swallowing the spot where I had been standing. As the dust began to settle, two sneaky figures emerged from the sand. They were robbers hiding in the shadows, waiting to ambush lone travelers in safe dungeons. They especially targeted students carrying valuable items but lacking strong protection. After succeeding, they would not only loot their belongings but often kill them to silence witnesses. The two approached the explosion site but found their target had vanished. They looked at each other in confusion, one full of doubt. "Where is he? He was just here." The other raised his gun and warned in a low voice, "Dead or alive, we have to finish him today." Just then, a tremendous force struck from beneath the sand. One of them was instantly dragged deep into the sand layer. His agonizing screams pierced through the yellow sand. The other, terrified, quickly activated his physical type B rank talent, Ape Rage. His power surged several times in an instant, but he also lost his rationality, attacking wildly without distinguishing friend from foe. He turned back and saw his companion's lower body buried in the sand, bloodied and mangled. His heart tightened. This time they had hit a tough target. He then swung his fists and gun at the person under the sand, unleashing a storm of relentless attacks, sending sand and dust flying and blurring his vision. My figure emerged amidst the chaos, easily catching his heavy strikes. The man grew furious, his power rising again as he threw punches like wind. But in my eyes, these attacks were feeble. I casually deflected his strikes and then counterattacked. With the sound of cracking bones, one of his hands was sent flying by me. I coldly eyed the agonized robber, my gaze growing even colder. "You people prey on the hopes of poor families, and you even kill them. All your crimes are unforgivable." Without hesitation, I threw a punch. Like a watermelon bursting, it ended the man's life. Then I counted the loot, finding 700, 0 inches cash, 1 regular body-strengthening potion, and 2 grenades. I looked at these ill-gotten gains with contempt, and casually tossed the illegal grenades into the desert. Then I crushed the boundary-breaking stone, ready to return to the real world. Meanwhile, the staff received word that some robbers had infiltrated the Wasteland Dungeon. The staff member exclaimed in shock, his eyes wide with anxiety. He recalled that not long ago, a senior high school student had entered that dungeon, also in the Red Mountain Desert area, and that student was only an E-rank support type at level 3. If he ran into them, the kid would be doomed. He spoke worriedly into his walkie-talkie. The person on the other end sighed helplessly. All we can do is hope for his luck. The staff member was speechless, lowering the walkie-talkie in defeat. He felt powerless, silently praying that the student would make it out alive. Were you praying for my death? I just entered a dungeon. Why are you cursing me to die? The sudden voice startled the staff member. He looked up toward the source of the sound and saw me standing there unharmed. He let out a long breath of relief, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. Thank goodness you're alive. You should know that the real threats in the dungeon are often not the monsters, but those robbers. They're well equipped and have decent talent levels. If you'd run into them, you'd be no match at all. I expressionlessly opened my palm, revealing 2 ears with earrings still attached. The staff member was dumbfounded, almost unable to believe his eyes. You ran into them and cut off their ears? That's amazing. I corrected him. Not cut off, eliminated. Hearing the word wanted criminal, I knew this counted as an act of bravery, and killing robbers would even earn me commendations and a generous reward. 3 days later, inside the Tianquan Guild's alchemy room, I successfully formulated a new potion. I was still 700 points short of leveling up, and my personal level had reached 15. The path to advancing a primary class was long. Each level brought only a small increase in strength, but many small gains add up. Every 100 levels marks a significant milestone. However, for me, due to my continuously growing strength each minute, the actual significance of leveling up was relatively limited. Over these 3 days, I had taken 8 improved body strengthening potions, 11 regular ones, and 1 advanced one. The regular body strengthening potion had become almost negligible in effect for me, with the last one offering no gain at all. Even the improved version's efficacy was gradually diminishing. It seemed I needed to find a higher grade body strengthening potion. I now deeply understood the truth that poverty limits martial arts. With abundant resources piled on, even a mediocre person could become a powerhouse. At this point, my strength had exceeded 6,700 pounds. If I underwent a strength test, the actual figure might be even higher. The Wasteland Dungeon experience had earned me a certificate of bravery and a 500,000 bonus. I chose to claim the award anonymously to avoid becoming a public figure. This honor would also add extra points to my college entrance exam score. Tomorrow was the big exam, and my classmates were enthusiastically discussing the upcoming dungeon challenge. I walked into the reserved gathering room. The spacious and elegant space was already filled with classmates. Just as I was about to find a seat, a familiar mocking voice reached my ears. Oh, isn't this our former top student, Su Chen? Today you actually deigned to attend our class reunion. What an honor for this place. Unlike me, I just awakened a mediocre A-rank talent. Barely able to get into Kanglong Academy, how could I compare to a proud son of heaven like you? The speaker was Liu Ruyan, who made no effort to hide his contempt and mockery towards Su Chen. As soon as I entered the room, I was met with ridicule and sarcasm from many classmates. They deliberately emphasized that this was a gathering for E-rank and above talents. Questioning how I had the face to show up here, some even mocked me for coming just for a free meal. Soon after, Su Xueyang, the heiress of the Tianquan Guild, arrived at Liu Ruyan's invitation. Her presence undoubtedly added a great deal of glory to Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan grew even more arrogant, bragging about his efforts and achievements under the influence of alcohol. I found Liu Ruyan's arrogance rather exasperating. He actually dared to show off right in front of me, and even used the power of berserker power to instantly boost his strength, with muscles bulging and an aggressive aura, declaring that with his A-rank talent and his feat of defeating a beginner puppet at the Tianquan Guild, he could easily crush me. Facing Liu Ruyan's provocation, a cold gleam flickered in my eyes. I decided to stop holding back and teach this arrogant fool a lesson. Just as the conflict was about to erupt, Su Xueyang suddenly stood up, her beautiful eyes shooting a cold glare as she harshly stopped Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan, stop right now. If you value your life and don't want to offend me, get out of here immediately. Liu Ruyan stared in disbelief, pointing at himself and asking incredulously, Sister Su, you want me to leave? He prided himself on his A-rank talent, believing he deserved the Tianquan Guild's favor, and couldn't accept that Su Xueyang was defending Su Chen, whom he saw as a waste. Su Xueyang sneered in response, mercilessly condemning Liu Ruyan's arrogance. Your so-called berserker power is nothing special. Beating a beginner puppet doesn't make you invincible. In my Tianquan Guild, there are several S-rank talents. An A-rank like you is nothing. She pointed at the door and ordered Liu Ruyan to leave again. Liu Ruyan felt as if his throat had been gripped. His berserker power had faded, but he was still red-faced like a defeated rooster. He knew he couldn't offend the heiress of the Tianquan Guild, so he redirected his anger toward me, silently vowing to make me pay in the college entrance exam dungeon. After Liu Ruyan left, Su Xueyang's expression softened slightly. She turned to me with concern and spoke gently. Don't let this get to you, leave it all to me. Tomorrow's college entrance exam dungeon is crucial. Don't let that loser affect you. She patted my shoulder warmly and then lowered her voice, telling me she had prepared medicine for me, and reminding me of important precautions for the dungeon. This scene happened to catch Liu Ruyan's eye. Seeing Su Xueyang so close to me, a pang of jealousy stirred in her heart. The next day, students across the nation faced the college entrance exam. In the early morning, large security forces had been deployed around the city, guarding the examinees' safety. Especially at the dungeon entrance, many powerful figures were hidden in the shadows, watching for any demons or rebels that might disrupt order. At 9 a.m., the dungeon was about to open. The principal stood on the school stage, solemnly and clearly reiterating the rules. Let me emphasize, the exam lasts 3 days, and you are strictly forbidden to bring any items in. There are many monsters inside the dungeon. If you encounter danger you can't handle, crush the boundary-breaking stone immediately, and rescue troops will arrive shortly. However, this will also invalidate your exam results. Also, the dungeon hides many combat skills and treasures, guarded by powerful monsters. Don't seek them out without absolute confidence. Inside, you can go all out and show your strength, but you must also bear the risks. The authorities do not encourage fighting or revenge. Life and death in the college entrance exam dungeon are your own responsibility. He continued explaining, killing monsters earns points, which are recorded on your personal counter. Points cannot be transferred or traded, but they can be used to purchase combat skills and treasures within the dungeon. The college entrance exam dungeon is your fairest and final chance. Before entering university, what you gain depends on your own efforts. As soon as he finished, security personnel moved quickly, distributing the necessary exam items. I fastened the counter to my waist and safely placed the boundary-breaking stone in my pocket. After the 10-second countdown, the examinees would be teleported into the dungeon. In an instant, the examinees spontaneously formed teams, although the teleportation locations were random. But those who entered the dungeon nearby would usually not be too far apart. I noticed that Liu Ruyan had already formed a team with 3 others not far away. The classmates around me were also looking for partners. Facing the powerful monsters in the dungeon, fighting alone was truly dangerous. Working together not only allowed for timely help, but also improved survival chances. However, I was determined to fight alone. Confident that with my current strength, I didn't need others to hold me back. With 3 seconds left on the countdown, I noticed Liu Ji turning his head, making a throat-slitting gesture with a vicious smile on his face. Then the teleportation array sent me to a jungle. In the distance, the roars of monsters and human screams could be heard occasionally, mingling with the sound of rain, adding a touch of terror. After walking for a while, a massive lion-shaped monster appeared before me. Its black fur, matted by rain, made it look especially fierce. At this moment, it lay motionless in the muddy water, as if dozing, or setting a trap to lure prey. I had been lurking here for a long time. This monster was not only the highest point prey nearby, worth the equivalent of dozens of ordinary monsters, totaling 30 points. Although I had a clear understanding of my own strength, I still had doubts about these monsters' capabilities, especially the strongest one before me. The rain grew heavier, and I was soaked through. Knowing that further delay might let the prey escape, I decided to wait no longer. Meanwhile, not far away on a hillside, several people sat huddled in a simple wooden shelter, avoiding the rain. A campfire blazed as they talked in low voices, and the topic was me. The rain is so heavy, visibility is poor. How dare he hunt monsters under these conditions? There's plenty of time, why take such a risk? One person wondered. I was planning to recruit him into the team, but an E-rank support type kid giving him some food and drink is already generous, and he actually dared to refuse. Another said indignantly, forget it, getting angry over such a waste isn't worth it. If he's looking for death, let him die. Even if he joined, he'd just be dead weight. Let's just watch the show, one person advised. Haha, I already know how this ends. Him hunting monsters? He'll probably end up as monster food soon enough. He didn't even need the boundary-breaking stone, with that stubborn attitude. If he's lucky, he might survive. If not, just another nameless corpse in the college entrance exam dungeon, another chimed in. At this moment, a female classmate who had once been friendly toward me couldn't help but speak up. Don't say that Su Chen does have a certain martial arts foundation. He used to be a top student too. As long as he doesn't challenge overly powerful monsters, crushing the boundary-breaking stone and calling for help shouldn't be a problem. Before she could finish, the others burst into mocking laughter. They were so immersed in ridiculing Su Chen that they didn't realize their laughter was particularly jarring in the silent, rain-soaked jungle, nor did they know how much attention they were drawing. On the other side, as I launched my attack on the monster, the cunning beast seemed to have sensed it beforehand, and in the blink of an eye, adjusted its posture, cleverly dodging my fierce strike. A mocking, almost human-like grin curled at the corner of its mouth. Its amber pupils were filled with contempt and killing intent toward the tiny human before it. It had been lying in wait, treating me as its prey, just as I had tried to hunt it. Then the lion monster let out a deafening roar. The sound waves rippled outward, tearing through the humid air, even causing the falling raindrops to pause in midair. Hot white steam burst from its mouth, instantly evaporating the surrounding moisture. A terrifying flame power was building up inside it. Sensing something wrong, I quickly pulled back my second punch. Changing direction, I knew that no matter how strong I was, if I hit that ball of flame head-on, I would suffer serious injury. However, years of solid martial arts training proved crucial at this moment. My body moved with the agility of a swallow, precisely controlling every ounce of power. Flames erupted, instantly consuming the trees in front of me. When the fire faded, those trees looked as if they had been gnawed by a giant beast. Though the intensity of the flames might have been slightly inferior to Liu Ruyan's S-rank talent, my control over it was no less refined. Facing such a powerful enemy, my vigilance reached its peak. This lion monster's strength far exceeded my expectations. No wonder its points were worth 30 ordinary monsters. The college entrance exam dungeon was designed with team cooperation in mind. Who could have predicted a lone warrior challenging such a powerful monster alone? But instead of fear, I felt an unprecedented surge of excitement and thrill. The grin on my face grew wider, and a gleam fiercer than the monsters shone in my eyes. If anyone had witnessed this scene, they might have momentarily been unable to tell who the real terror was. My toes lightly pressed into the muddy ground, sending rainwater exploding outward. My body shot up like a cannonball, so fast it was hard to follow. The lion monster only felt a gust of wind. By the time it registered what was happening, my fist was already closing in. Faced with such a swift attack, the monster couldn't dodge, and could only hastily raise its massive claw to block, while simultaneously building up a blazing fire in its mouth. But I wouldn't give it the chance. The moment my fist met its claw, a crisp sound of breaking bones rang out. The monster howled in pain, its massive body flying backward like a broken kite, carving deep furrows along the ground as it skidded. It tried to counterattack with flames, the fire in its mouth gradually taking shape, about to erupt. But the next moment, a light sound came from its jaw, like a thunderbolt shaking it. The fire that was about to burst was forcibly sealed inside its mouth, unable to be released. The monster's head was instantly scorched by the intense heat, black smoke rising with the rich aroma of cooked meat wafting through the air. It was in agony but couldn't make a sound. I chuckled lightly, straightened up, took half a step back, and bent my arm to gather strength. Then I swung again. This punch looked light and weak, but it instantly pulverized the middle of the monster's body into a pulp. The monster let out its final cry of life, and a brilliant light burst from its brow, flowing into the counter at my waist. Points gained, 60 total. I let out a slight sigh of relief and was about to drag the monster's corpse away, but a question arose about the points displayed. Why is it 60 points? Shouldn't it be 30? I guessed it might be because I killed it alone, but I didn't dwell on it and turned to walk slowly toward my original destination. However, I had no idea that outside the college entrance exam dungeon, countless people were already watching my every move. At the Dragon Country College entrance exam headquarters, a place that pulsed with the nation's heartbeat, many powerful figures who could shake the world with a single stomp were now gathered. They were focused not only on witnessing the grand event of selecting future elites for various institutions, but also on scouting young prodigies from among the examinees who could add luster to their respective factions. Inside the hall, thousands of transparent crystal balls shone like stars, each one projecting the image of an independent dungeon. The many magnates present held their breath, closely watching the students who were making their mark in the various dungeons. A graceful woman spoke coldly, her long, fair legs especially eye-catching. These so-called S-rank geniuses retreat at the first sign of danger. Having great power but not knowing how to use it, no matter how good the talent, it's wasted. Before she finished, a man responded, "Growth doesn't happen overnight. Without weathering storms, how can these tender seedlings become strong? In university, they'll understand the harshness of reality." The woman ignored him, leaving only a sarcastic remark. Qinghu's sword immortal. As a son of privilege, it's only natural you defend these greenhouse flowers. But a murmur of admiration arose from the crowd. This kid is something else. They saw a young man, facing a monster comparable to S-rank and level 30, casually defeat it with a single punch, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Such a feat was a miracle in the college entrance exam dungeon, especially since he fought alone and defeated what could be considered the dungeon's peak enemy. But the woman remained unimpressed. Just a minor demon, nothing special. Those aristocratic heirs have endless resources, potions, pills piled up like mountains, leveling up at an astonishing speed. They even have smart teams carefully crafting their talents and physiques. If I had such conditions, I could have reached their level by middle school. Upon hearing this, Qinghu's sword immortal frowned and said earnestly, "Don't forget, back when the demons invaded, the major aristocratic families paid a heavy price. Countless heroic souls spilled their blood to win the peace we have today. Their contributions cannot be erased." The college entrance exam is meant to give ordinary students a chance to compete on the same stage as these aristocratic heirs and obtain a relatively fair path to advancement. The woman scoffed at this and turned to leave. Qinghu's sword immortal also left with a dark expression. The man who had witnessed the astonishing scene was about to reveal that the young man was not from an aristocratic family, but an orphan, and possessed only the lowest E-rank support-type talent. But the two had disappeared too quickly, so he could only close his mouth in resignation. At the same time, I arrived at the center of a messy clearing, the ground covered with craters, and scorched marks testifying to a fierce battle that had taken place here. I was puzzled. I remembered a 4-person team had been stationed here, and the strongest monster had been lured away by me, so why such devastation? Just as I was scanning my surroundings warily, a battered team member spotted me with great joy. They were relieved I had returned safely, meaning the monster that had been troubling them was gone. It turned out that while sheltering from the rain, they had been ambushed by a pack of wolf-like monsters. Despite their martial hall training and good coordination, they still suffered casualties. The only female member of the team had been carried off by the monsters, sacrificing herself to buy temporary safety for the other 3. The team's core, Liu Ruyan, his face twisted with resentment, glared at me, who was completely unharmed. In his eyes, I had ventured into the jungle alone and come out unscathed. While they had been ravaged by the wolf monsters, this was utterly unfair. He channeled all his frustration, fear, and shame onto me, determined to make me suffer the same pain, as if that would somehow conceal their incompetence. Liu Ruyan even regretted having accepted me into the team in the first place, thinking that if they had sacrificed me to the wolf monsters back then, They might have avoided the sacrifice of their teammate Qianqian. The three of them charged angrily up to me, grabbing my collar and screaming hysterically. Su Chen, you piece of trash. Are you here to laugh at us now? The others chimed in, equally accusatory. We were surrounded by wolf monsters. Qianqian was taken away. Do you think that's funny? You were probably hiding nearby, enjoying the sight of us running for our lives, weren't you? I noticed their movement, but I hadn't expected them to dare provoke me so arrogantly up close. Seeing the obvious wounds on them, and that the female classmate, who had usually been friendly toward me, was nowhere to be seen. She must have either died or been abandoned. I found it absurd. I coldly stared at them and said, "You think I'm here to laugh at you? I don't have the time or interest to care about people like you. Don't flatter yourselves, take a look in the mirror. You're not even worth my time." Liu Feng's spittle flew, nearly hitting my face, as he said, "Who do you think is responsible for you coming back alive from the jungle? If we hadn't drawn all the monsters' attention, you, an E-rank waste, would have been dead long ago. I must have been blind to invite you." My eyes sharpened, and in an instant, I grabbed Liu Feng's finger, snapped it with a light twist, bones cracked audibly. Blood splattered on my face. I wiped it off in disgust and said coldly, "Don't think anger can hide your incompetence. You ran from the wolf monsters, even abandoned your teammate to save your own skins. Who's the real waste here?" This startled them into stepping back, shame and anger mixing on their faces. They couldn't believe they had been so intimidated by a waste. This was a complete humiliation. Every word I spoke cut into Liu Feng's heart like a knife, hitting the sorest point he couldn't bear to recall. So Liu Feng activated his talent, Power of 9 Oxen. 2 cyan ox horns appeared on his head. This was his A-rank physical type talent. Once his level was high enough, he would have the strength of 9 oxen, equivalent to a terrifying 1,000 pounds of force. Liu Feng roared, and the other 2 also activated their talents. Both B-rank mage types, one manipulating water vapor, the other turning it into ice spikes. In an instant, the falling rain turned into countless tiny ice needles, shooting toward me, creating an impressive spectacle. I knew that according to this area's monster point values, apart from the 3-0-point lion monster, the strongest was only worth 3 points. With the strength they were showing now, they could easily handle the wolf monsters. Yet when facing monsters, they were terrified and couldn't use their abilities. But now, facing someone they thought was a waste, they went all out, even willing to abandon teammates to survive. I had never imagined that these sheltered 18-year-old students could harbor such deep malice inside. I knew that 18 was the age when the line between good and evil was blurriest. When kind, they were extremely compassionate, but once malice took root, they could be more ruthless than any cold-blooded adult. Thinking of this, the killing intent in my eyes grew stronger. Outside, no matter how great the evil you commit, the law might still give you a chance at life. But in the college entrance exam dungeon, if you run into me, don't count on morality or law. So I clenched my fist and slammed it into the ground. My seemingly weak arm held astonishing power. When my fist hit the ground, it was like a cannonball exploding, instantly shattering those sharp ice needles into dust. The 2 mage types were stunned, staggering back from the shockwave. Only Liu Feng, relying on his 9 oxen power, barely held his ground, gritting his teeth with veins bulging on his neck and forehead. "You 2 wastes, help me freeze him." Liu Feng roared as he charged at me, believing that my punch earlier was just a fluke from my E-rank support talent, not my actual strength. In his eyes, one punch from him would crush me into a pulp. My voice was cold as ice as I appeared like a ghost. Facing Liu Feng's fierce punch, I calmly raised one index finger and effortlessly blocked the 1,000-pound force. There was no thunderous crash of stone, no dull thud of fist meeting flesh, just a faint, almost inaudible pop. Liu Feng's full-force strike was easily neutralized, and he was even bounced back to the ground. Liu Feng stared in disbelief at what had just happened, his eyes nearly popping out of his sockets. His mind was in chaos. How could this be? He couldn't believe I had such power. Even our leader can't beat Su Chen, how could we? The remaining 2 were terrified, suspecting I wasn't human, but a monster in disguise. But I wasn't going to let them off. With just a light tap of my finger, I left both of them barely alive. I couldn't waste any more time. I had to aim for first place in the college entrance exam dungeon. My gaze was firm, knowing that regardless of talent level, after entering university through the exam, I would face enormous demands for cultivation resources and financial pressure. Although the Tianquan Guild was currently supporting me, I knew that accepting help meant a certain degree of bondage. I had to show enough value in the college entrance exam dungeon to attract more investors to this seemingly unlimited potential E-rank genius. Just as I was about to finish them off, the 2 mage-type boys broke down crying, a foul smell coming from their pants. They begged through tears and snot, "Please spare us, my father is rich. He's a surgeon at the Luochuan City Martial Arts Hospital. He has a lot of money." The other chimed in too. "My father is the same, he runs a martial arts hall and makes a lot of money. I can give you a lot of money, just let me live." When I heard the word money, my heart stirred as if a new world had opened up. Countless money-making ideas flooded my mind. This way, even after entering university, I wouldn't have to worry about cultivation resources in the short term. I didn't realize that at this moment, I looked like a whispering demon in their eyes, only increasing their fear. Then my expression instantly shifted from cold to warm, and I looked at the people on the ground with a bit more appreciation. I even found Liu Feng somewhat endearing now. Then I smiled and asked them about their father's strength. The two exchanged glances and immediately replied excitedly, "My father is very rich. He can definitely come up with a large sum to ransom us." They eagerly listed their father's assets, afraid I might miss out. I nodded in satisfaction and began writing the estimated ransom amounts on their foreheads, as if pricing items at an auction. Finally, I turned to Liu Feng with an expectant smile. "How much do you think your father will pay to save you?" Liu Feng had long lost his earlier arrogance. His face filled with fear and resignation. He knew that to save him, his father would likely have to pay a huge price. Facing this money-obsessed demon before him, he was filled with regret and helplessness. In the dense jungle, along a winding path, a young man strode ahead, easily brushing aside thorny branches, carrying a large bundle on his shoulder. On closer look, it wasn't a bundle at all, but 3 people tied with ropes, carried as casually as cargo, without affecting his pace at all. I coldly glanced at the 3 on my shoulder and warned, "Are you sure that girl's wealth is worth more than the 3 of yours combined? If you're lying, I can't guarantee you'll leave the college entrance exam dungeon alive." Liu Feng and the others had already been broken by my iron fist, and now quickly nodded in agreement. She is indeed the richest among us, although she was taken by the wolf monsters.